Yes, I know, Christmas is past, but I forgot to wear my Merry Sithmas sweater leading up to it, so we got it on today. It's just like, it's an annual thing. I have to wear it. This video today, I was going back and forth. I'm like, should I even like make it? Because I almost feel like it's a little redundant with my top 10 of 2021 video that I posted last week. I'll link it down below here. But it's my favorite book of every single month, which in my reading journal, like I kept track of my favorite book each month, and this was always like a plan to do this. And then as I was pulling the books, I'm like, most of these were already mentioned last week. But obviously like my December isn't, my December read wasn't, my September read wasn't in that. Like my May read, like there were some that were not included in that video, even though they were like that month's favorite. But they like didn't make that final list. So we're gonna go ahead and make this video anyways. I'm not gonna talk like, I guess, too in depth about some of the books because like I said, they were mentioned in that video, or I've talked about them in other videos recently because they're obviously favorites. So let's jump in though. Every single favorite of mine from each month. So for January, if you watched that last video, you know, and that is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. So this is a nonfiction autobiography written by Chanel Miller. If you don't know who she is, you might have heard of the Stanford sexual assault case with Brock Turner that happened, I don't even know how many, it was maybe longer than that, more than 5 years ago. In like recent years, this happened. And Emily Doe's victim impact statement went viral on BuzzFeed, so you probably saw like that circulating at some point. And Chanel Miller was Emily Doe. She chose to keep her identity private during the trial for obvious reasons, but she has now come out to say Emily Doe is me, and this is my story, and this is what happened. This book is incredible. I think I talked about it for like 4 or 5 minutes in my video. I don't really want to get too in depth on it, but it's her story of like her life before that night, the night that she went to the party, what kind of happened, like immediately the day after, like reporting it, getting the kit done, like everything that was involved, heartbreaking. The trial, the impact on her life, her parents, her sister, her boyfriend, her friends, like everything, her work, her school, how her whole entire life was affected by this night. I think literally every single person in the entire world needs to read this book. It was so good. She tied in like real world events as well. Like, I just think that this is a book that everyone should read. It is so good. Obviously, it is heavy. It's not like an easily digestible read, but it's just very important and a very incredible story written by a very incredible woman. So this was my favorite from January. I really started the year out strong with this one. Next, you guys already saw this in my favorites video as well, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. If you know me, this is no surprise. I love the ACOTAR series. This is the 5th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, so you do need to read the prior 4 books in order to get to this one. Even though this one does follow a new couple, you still need to read those first ones because there's a lot about like the world and these characters that you need that background information on. So I can't really say too much about this, except this is Nesta and Cassian, and Nesta is Feyre's sister, who is the heroine that we follow in the first 3 books, and Cassian is a member of the Inner Circle, and he is the general of the Illyrian army there. So he's like got wings, he's like a bat boy fae. I love Cassian. He's not the typical character that I would normally, like I love and appreciate them, but he's definitely not the one that I'm normally drawn to. However, I really, really love him, and I loved the look into his character in this book. However, the strength of this book is Nesta. I was not a fan of Nesta in the original 4 books. I can't get on board with people being disrespectful and acting like they're the only people that have ever had bad things happen to them. I'm like, Nesta, honey, I can't deal with you. However, this book totally changed my opinion on her, as I think it was supposed to, and I really connect with Sarah J. Maas's heroines in the way that she writes them. I really appreciate the way that she does, and I really appreciate her mental health representation, especially through Nesta's book in here. That's just what I look for when I'm reading books, and I can't believe that I have to wait until 2023 for the next book, and if it's not an Azriel book, March was when I read the beginning of the Kimura Chronicles, so I chose Twisted Loyalties by Cora Riley. This is book 1. I'm so sad, guys. I just put up my By Sin I Rise Part 2 vlog last week, and I'm so sad about that book because you guys know how much I love Cora Riley, how much I love the Born in Blood Chronicles, how much I love the Kimura Chronicles, and that book was just bad. It was bad. I'm sorry. So I just want to revisit some of these because these are like my babies. So this one follows Fabiano and Leona. I have an entire Guide to Cora Riley reading vlog to explain like what reading order, because the Bound by Blood Chronicles and the Kimora Chronicles are like intertwined and characters overlap. So I have that entire video to explain it if you're looking to jump into the series and like are kind of confused on where to start, because you should read this one after you've already read some of the Born and Blood Chronicles. I think, I mean, you can do literally whatever you want, but my advice would be to read those and then read this one. Reference that video. But Fabiano is the youngest brother of a Chicago mafia family. His 3 older sisters all have books in the Born and Blood Chronicles, and you see what kind of happens with their family and why Fabiano flees to Las Vegas, where then this whole series takes place out in Las Vegas with the Las Vegas Mafia. Speak, McKay. Fabiano joins the Falcone brothers to be their enforcer, and it's his romance with Leona, who is not a member of the Mafia, which is specifically why I loved this one. All of the other books all have women featured that are in the Mafia, where Leona is the only one who isn't. And it was just so cool to read about a character who's not in the Mafia, like kind of become involved in Mafia life. So I loved it. I love Fabiano, and this was by far my favorite of March. Okay, so then April, even though I did take a bit of a break with this series, then I Twisted Bonds is the 4th book of the Kimora Chronicles. I did read this one in April. And this, I can't really say too much plot-wise because it's the 2nd book following a couple, but this one is Nino and Kiara's 2nd book, and they are Twisted Emotions. That's their 1st book, and it's the 2nd one in the series, and this is the 4th, but obviously the 2nd one focusing on just them two. So again, I can't say too much plot-wise because you have to read the earlier books, especially their earlier book, obviously, before you read the 2nd one. But I just really felt like we needed more time spent with Nino and Kiara because they had just so much to work through, both personally and together, to break through like walls in their relationship. So I'm really glad that we got the 2nd book with them. I really have a soft spot for Nino and Kiara, even though Remo and Serafina are my fave couple of this entire series. Like Nino and Kiara, just, they do have like a soft spot in my heart for them. I do really love them. May was Inked in Lies by Gianna Darling. This is the 5th book in the Fallen Men series. This one follows Nova and Lila. It is a motorcycle club book, obviously. Brother's best friend, childhood friends to like acquaintances to lovers, kind of. Not really, I don't know. Childhood friends to lovers, I guess. Age gap and like foster sibling a little bit. So Lila's family moves in across the street from Nova's family when she's about 5 and he's like 16 or something. And immediately his parents see that Lila and her older brother are not in a good situation with their father and are just not really like loved and cared for as kids should be. And then there's a situation that goes down where then Lila ends up being taken in by Nova's family and is raised by his family. So it is like kind of a foster sibling situation. However, Nova was like basically out of the house by the time that Lila was like coming in to live there. So like not really, they never were like really under the same roof. And they were always like best friends. Like she just had always this draw to Nova, and Nova was just always kind of like her little buddy. So it starts off in the past, then when they're both younger, and then jumps ahead to the present when they're both older. I think Lila's like 23 at this point, so I don't know what that would make Nova. I just love this one. They are the true definition of soulmates. Nova's a tattoo artist, and Lila's like his muse. It's so hot. Their connection is just undeniable. I love the plot with this one too, with the MC, like also within The Fallen. Like that was just an interesting plot going on of where the club is at. I highly suggest reading the first 4 books before reading this one. I'm pretty sure these are like advertised, like you could read these as standalones. I just would not suggest that because I feel like you're missing out on a lot. But I mean, once again, you do whatever you want to do. I just suggest reading the other 4 to get to this one. There was just really something about Nova and Lila in here that I just couldn't get over. And also, thank you, I just flipped through this. Thank you so much again to Nicole for sending this one to me, because this genuinely was one of my favorite books that I read this year, and it was just so good. And yeah, oh, I loved it. Moving on to June, a book that like just missed my top list, and that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. So this is a romantic thriller. Yeah, so this one follows this writer. What is her name? Lowen. Lowen is a ghostwriter, and she gets a call to ask if she can go and ghostwrite and finish the series for an author who has had an accident, and she's like kind of in a coma, kind of not. She's like non-functioning, or so they think. Also, thank you to Sonia for sending me this book. So she goes to live in Verity. That's the author of the series who now is like incapacitated and can't finish it. So she goes to live in Verity's house and go and check out her office to see all of the past notes that she had, like see any plans that she had to finish out the final books in this series. And she kind of like immerses herself in Verity's office and life. And so when she moves into this house, Verity is there, but like obviously Verity can't like walk, talk, anything. Like she just is upstairs in her bedroom. And Verity's husband and son are also living there. So she kind of like joins in, and it's like already kind of like a bit of a weird situation. And then she starts connecting with the husband a bit and just kind of trying to learn like about Verity a little bit so that she can kind of get in her mind right. And then when she's going through Verity's office, she finds a journal and she starts to uncover some things. I'm not going to say any more. This book blew my mind, and I still think about the ending of like, what do I believe? Like, I love a thriller like that when it ends to being like, what do you believe? Do you believe this way or do you believe this way? I have my way that I like what I believe is true. But it really just makes you think. The end is just like a total mindfuck, and it's so, so good. This definitely is not as romance driven. Like there's a bit of a romance between Lowen and the husband, but I would say that's not like the focal point of the plot, but it definitely is like important to the plot. So fellow romance readers, I would definitely recommend this if you are interested in any kind of thrillers, but you still need that romance fix. Like I think this is kind of perfect for you. Oh, it's so good. And now like as I'm talking about it, I'm like, I want to do a reread. Like it was just really, really good. Okay, July's favorite. I feel like I literally don't even need to tell you anything about this book because if you watch any of my videos, you know Twisted Love by Anna Huang. It's a brother's best friend, grumpy sunshine, CEO billionaire kind of dude, cold, icy, brooding bad boy. Oh, I mean, I talked about this book so much, but it follows Ava. She's a college student and her brother is going away for work to another country, and he asks his best friend Alex if he can move in to his house to kind of watch over Ava, so that way they're like neighbors side by side. And Alex agrees to do so, and he is just like this cold Iceman, and Ava is like this ray of sunshine, and she tries to like bring him out of his shell a little bit. Well, not bring him out of his shell, just try to like crack some emotion out of him. And she sets out to do so, and they end up, you know, vibing together. There's some different things with Ava's past too, and some things with Alex's business that obviously come into the mix in this. I've literally talked about this book so many times, I don't really feel like I need to reiterate anymore, but I truly loved Ava and Alex, and I love the brother's best friend trope. I love grumpy sunshine. Like everything about this book just worked for me. And yeah, it was a total standout of July. Like it blew everything in July out of the water for me. Next is Waking Olivia. This was August's favorite by Elizabeth O'Rourke. So this one is a coach athlete college sports romance following Olivia. She is a track runner and she's let go from her Division I school where she is running there because of some behavioral issues. So she ends up getting picked up. I don't know what division the school is, like maybe D3, like a lot lower caliber than the kind of runner that she is, but they're kind of like the only school who's willing to take her. So she starts going there, and her track coach, Will, is like, I literally don't want this girl here. He doesn't want her causing any issues. He just is really against her coming and running there. But, you know, once she gets there, things happen. There's a lot of stuff in Olivia's past that she needs to work through and that are causing problems for her today. And she is really on her own. Like, she has no family, no friends. Like, she's really on her own. And Will really does take her under his wing a little bit. Oh, I loved this. It wasn't as taboo sounding as when you say, like, coach athlete. Like, it's not, like, off balance where, like, that's extremely taboo. This one, like, wasn't as much so, but it still delivered in, like, the angst and the forbiddenness of their relationship. I just really felt like Will and Olivia's connection just, like, popped for me, and you could just tell that they truly did love and respect one another, and that they weren't just, like, physically attracted to one another, which is what really bothers me in some romance books, where you can just tell, like, they just think each other is hot. And I'm like, that's not enough for me. So this one totally bypasses, like, physical attraction to, like, a deeper level. I loved it. Definitely read it. September, Puck Me Secretly by Odette Stone. This book was just like, it was so fun. And why can't I remember? I know his name's Max, and I'm completely blanking on her name, but it's a hockey romance. This woman is just finishing up with college in like New York City or something. And at the start of the book, she's flying to Vancouver, I think, to go start working with her dad, because her dad is like a manager for a professional hockey team, the Vancouver Wolves, I think is their name. And she is going to go start working with him, even though that's not what she wants to do. She wants to go and like be in the city, but whatever. She's going back home to work with the family business. And on this plane, she's very scared of flying, and the plane starts to go down. So she immediately just starts spilling like all of these secrets to the guy sitting next to her. And he kind of helps calms her down, whatever. And after the issues with the plane and everything, they end up spending a night together. They have a great fun night together. But then she wakes up the next morning and Max is gone. So she's like, okay, whatever, that's fine. She goes to go start working with her dad at this hockey team. And what do you know? Max is there, the bad boy of hockey right now. He was let go from his last team for beating up one of his teammates. And he has like a really bad reputation right now, but the Vancouver Wolves was willing to take him because he's obviously an excellent hockey player. Of course he is. Now she is tasked with kind of keeping him in line and also just working in this world of hockey. It's so good. Some of it is like a little overly dramatic, but I loved it. I ate this book up. Truly I did. I love a bad boy. A bad boy with a good heart, and that's what Max is. So yeah, this book was just so much fun, and I want to read the rest in the series. Like, that's on my list to read next year too. October, guys, come on. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. As soon as I heard that this was a Raylo fan fiction, I knew I needed to have it. Kylo Ren is like one of my all-time favorite characters. I love Star Wars, clearly. And I loved this book. This one follows Olive. She's a PhD student, and in order to get her two friends to date, to like convince them that she isn't into the one of them, she tells them that she's dating this guy, whatever, she's moved on. And then she runs into one of her friends when she was supposed to be on a date with this like fake boyfriend. So she kisses the first person that she sees, and that happens to be Dr. Adam Carlson as he's walking through the hallway. Now she has to like come up with a quick explanation of like why she kissed him, and also to her friends of being like, yeah, I'm literally dating a professor. And Olive and Adam start fake dating. There's more to it than that, but again, I feel like I've talked about this book a bunch of times. I feel like everyone has talked about this book a lot. Like, I don't probably think that this is the first time that you're hearing about this book. They start fake dating. Grumpy Sunshine, student teacher, kind of, even though Adam isn't like her direct professor. I love the academic setting of this. I really loved Olive and Adam's dynamic. I love a man who is a simp, and like kind of a secret simp, you know? And just the fact that I got to picture Adam Driver as this character the whole time. Are you kidding me? Like, I truly did. This book could have been horrible and I still would have loved it, but like, it's amazing. So I also loved it. Adam Driver is my king. So Love Hypothesis, this was just so good. So fun. Okay, last two. November's favorite was The Darkest Temptation by Danielle Laurie. This is the third book in the Maid series. These are companion novels, and I actually think you probably could jump into this one without reading the other two. Like, they really are more like soul companion books, where I feel like the Fallen Men series are a little more cohesive. But I would definitely recommend reading the other two in the series as well, because they're both amazing. But The Darkest Temptation is probably my favorite. This one follows Ronan and Mila. So Ronan is the head of the Russian mafia. Is he the head? I don't know. He's like a Russian mafia boss, and he is living over in Russia, and Mila is living in the States. However, she was like born in Russia. She has like Russian heritage, and her dad has missed a few life events recently, and she's kind of like, what is up? Like, he's acting a little weird. Does he have a secret family? What's going on? She doesn't know like anything about her mother, except that her mother is not around. She decides to slip her security detail and fly over to Russia herself to find some answers about her dad, her mom, her family business. Like, what is all going on here? And once she gets to Russia, things are a little weird. People are staring at her weird, acting weird around her. Like, things are just not what she was kind of expecting. And then she ends up getting almost assaulted one night and runs into this bar and literally runs into Ronan. And she thinks she finds like a safe house with him. However, he has ulterior motives, and this is a captive romance. If it's not your thing, don't read it. I totally get it. Like, this is a pretty dark romance. I mean, it's not that dark. Am I just twisted to say that it's not that dark? I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily that dark, but it is darker, and it's a captive romance, and it's in the mafia. So, you know, like, if that's not your thing, definitely tread lightly then with this one. But it's grumpy sunshine. There's a bit of an age gap. Ronan is like Mila's first real like experience with men. Like, I just loved the hell out of this book. I loved I loved Mila and Ronan's dynamic. I love, like, the Russian men in books. I don't know what it is. Ever since I read Off Balance, I feel like Kova has just, like, struck a love for Russian men for me in books. But this was really great. And for the captive romance, I felt like this one really works. They either do or they don't for me. I loved this, but again, I don't really have much more to say because I've already talked about that a whole bunch. And finally, my December favorite. So this one was hard to come up with. Like, what have I truly not stopped thinking about this month? And that immediately was clear. And that was Always Been You by QB Tyler. This is a novella. I know, guys, surprising, but it's a novella in the Twisted Christmas anthology with a bunch of other writers. It's only 99 cents on Kindle right now, but I'm pretty sure it's like going to be going away soon. And then like some of the authors, I'm pretty sure QB Tyler is reworking this to make it a longer book. And I'm like frothing at the mouth. I need that right now. This was so good. I originally gave this 4.5, but honestly, it didn't deserve that. It deserved 5. So I'm going to go back and change that on my Goodreads, because it deserved 5. Like, I truly have not stopped thinking about this since I read this. This was just fantastic. So this is an adopted brothers romance. It's super taboo, guys. Like, you know me here, okay? If you don't like it, don't read it. That's totally fine. But don't shame other people for reading what they want to read. And this was so hot and what I didn't know that I needed, honestly. So this one follows Gabrielle and James. And Gabrielle is a college student, and I think, are they living in New York City? I don't know, they're living in some city, and she's going to school there. She's a freshman, and her older brother, her adopted older brother, James, lives in the city as well. So she often like goes over to his apartment, like hangs out, whatever. Like, they've just always been close ever since she was adopted. She was adopted when she was maybe 2 or something by her family. Like, one of the lines in the book, like, that she knew she was adopted. Gabrielle is Black and her family is white. So she's like, there's never really a question for me that I was adopted. So she was adopted at a young age, raised by James's family, and like has a really good relationship with her entire family, which is also why her and James are like nervous to cause any waves, I guess, with their relationship with the family. But when they're headed home for Christmas, they finally decide that they can't just let this attraction not be acted on any longer. Oh my God, it's so good. Like, if you've read anything by QB Tyler, you know that she just writes top tier spice. Like, truly, honestly, some of the best spice ever. There was something just about James and Gabrielle that right from the start, I got both of their characters. For it being a novella, there was so much character development done in a short amount of time, so much character progression, so much angst built up, which, you know, in novellas, like, there typically isn't a lot of because you have to kind of get into things quicker. But there was so much tension where I'm like, oh my God, are they good? Just in the shortest amount of time ever. Like, I truly don't know how QB Tyler did it. Y'all know novellas do not work for me because I love a slow burn romance. I hate insta love. I don't just like the quick progression of novellas. But this was so freaking good. Guys, I literally can't recommend this enough. Like, I'm still like so blown away by it. I honestly want to do a reread before the end of the year on it. It was so hot. So yeah, it's like very taboo with the age gap, the relationship of them being like adopted siblings together. And even at the end, like, I felt like there was some plot things, because one of my things in Love Unexpected was that we didn't really get to see any reaction from the grandparents with that relationship, but we got to at least see some reactions within the family a little bit here, and then some alluded to it. I'm hoping that we're gonna get some more of that in the extended version of this. I feel like I've kind of butchered talking about this because I keep getting off track and my mind is just like love, love, love. Like, that's just what's flaring in my mind right now. But it was so, so good. Even if you are not the biggest fan of novellas, like I am, try picking this up because I promise it is like so much is done in such a short amount of time with this. So yeah, that was by far my favorite read of December. And I'm switching my rating to a 5 on Goodreads after this because it deserved it. It did. I don't know why I rated a 4.5. I think because I was like, it's a novella. But no, 5. 5 stars. Okay, that's it for this video. And then I'm pretty sure the video that is going to be going up tomorrow, I'm super excited for. I've worked so hard on it and I hope you guys end up liking it. But yeah, that's it for today. And I don't really have much more to say. So let's just wrap it up. So I'll see ya when I see ya.